All right. We are 50 seconds to go. Let me make sure we've got all our screens up and like we do. I just need to get my sensor. 30 seconds to go, everybody. Nice and steady. We get the ride started. Thank you for everybody joining us this morning. We are in the feed zone. We've got 22 riders in the pen. We are going a steady 1.8 watts per kilogram. Nice and steady here. Let me just get everyone out the pen, and we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation today. Nice and easy here, everybody. Here we go. Some reminders. All right, looking good. All right, welcome to the feed zone. This is Jason Flores. I'm gonna get my slides up and running, and we'll get started within the feed zone. All right, if you don't know me already, my name is Jason Flores. I am also known as JFlow. Just got finished with the workout here and joining everybody here in the feed zone. If you don't have a chance before this, definitely check out the Friday EBB ride led by TeamODZ riders. Definitely a great ride to ride right before this, and it's got an awesome fireworks worth of a finish of a 1,000 meter dash at the end. So definitely check that out. Quick medical disclaimer. The only purpose of this live stream is to educate, to inform, and not to substitute for any professional care by a doctor or any other qualified medical professional. This live stream is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. The goals of today's live stream are that it present current articles in the media covering food and hydration, and to open a dialogue between riders and others to ask questions, to get advice, and talk about their experiences on Zwift with endurance sports and that sort of thing. So today, our topic is actually going to be about improving your performance with bicarbonate soda. Essentially, this is, yes, baking soda. The same stuff that you have in your fridge, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So the things we'll be talking about is what it is, which is baking powder. We're talking about the scientific name, essentially bicarbonate soda, and how it applies to us and using it in sport. We'll be talking about how much to take, also when to take it, and the timing leading up to event, how and when to take it. And then also some take-home messages of things to remember and how it actually compares to other things that we're taking in conjunction, or other things we've talked about, for example, caffeine, beta-alanine, things like that we've had previous conversations about. So a little bit of background. Sodium bicarbonate, it's actually been used for years in an attempt to legally improve performance. And I'll go into a little bit about how it does that. It is a baking ingredient, and it does work, and I'll explain kind of how it works and how effective it is in what we want it to do as far as buffering and that sort of thing here. And we're also going to talk about the best way to go about it. All right. So a little bit more about baking powder itself. So sodium bicarbonate, which we'll use the term moving forward, actually reacts with acids to neutralize them and can prevent the rise of lactic acid. So where this comes into play is, for example, people talk about the lactic acid burn or lactic acid buildup during an effort where the efforts are very high or anaerobic. And so during those times is where things like baking soda or anything in the blood that can lower that acidity level can help you or help us perform at a longer or more repeated effort. So essentially, sodium bicarbonate is absorbed into your blood, and it lowers the acidity overall in your body as a whole. So theoretically, this can increase your ability to exercise at high intervals. So we'll take it from the shortest terms of racing, like on the track and that sort of thing. And you could actually see this used on very short track efforts, but also extending to longer, up to 1 hour or just exceeding 1 hour effort races, short road races, circuits, and things like that. We'll talk about its limitations at the 2 to 3 hour limit as we move forward. So bicarbonate soda, and in our sport specifically, or cycling, the concept is that it buffers, a concept that it does buffer. It's not new research. It's something that's been researched all the way back into the 1920s, but in the 1980s, it actually had increased. So a lot of the science came from the 1980s moving forward to now. So in our sport, where acidity may be a limiting factor, so that means someone who is in their sports spending a high level at that anaerobic level, really pushing for longer efforts, or doing that repeatedly, sprint after sprint, let's say like in a crit situation, corner after corner, sprint after sprint, so something like that. So there are suggestions in the science that may be effective on these high intensity efforts at the end of around even a 60-minute effort. So for example, a road race that starts kind of more tempo, or actually more anaerobic out the gate, tempo in the middle, and ending more anaerobic, it can still be effective. But the limitation is that at around 2 or 3 hours, the levels of bicarbonate actually lowers. That means your blood pH becomes back to normal. So that is something to consider depending on the length of your race. So you'll be looking at a longer stage race, it may not be as effective. The question is, how much do we need to take in order to get this benefit, this anaerobic, this buffering, this lactic acid buffering benefit? So the calculation goes like this: 0.3 grams per kilogram. So you're looking at a 160-pound rider or a 73-kilogram rider putting about 22 grams in. So doing some conversion, that puts us at about 2 tablespoons for measurements, which isn't too much because it is pretty dense, but definitely, if you've ever taken it, it's definitely difficult to put down. So we'll talk about a couple different things that we could do to help get this down. So there are a couple choices that we can do, and it's powder versus a capsule. Capsule absolutely does sound a lot easier to take down. Powder, of course, is the same powder that you have like your baking soda in your fridge, like we talked about earlier. So some of the things that we also must consider is loading. The reason why is if you were to put down 2 kilograms of 2 tablespoons of bicarbonate, it would actually draw a lot of water into the intestine, essentially making you bloated because it needs to dilute that with water. So you would actually want to load. And so the way the loading works is that you start about 3 hours before your event, and you take it with about 500 milliliters of water. And maybe you would take like 2 teaspoons at a time to get you to 2 tablespoons or 6 teaspoons at the end of a 3-hour period right before your event begins, to time it perfectly there. So timing is, you want to get the max effect around 2 to 3 hours, but it varies for every rider. So you kind of need to work on this, and just like anything that we do, you need to make sure that we try this beforehand, meaning that you're practicing it for, mock races or out for longer training events, that sort of thing. You need to make sure that you're practicing it during that time. As far as taking it with food, there's also some very good science about taking it with food and how it can influence absorption speed. So taking it with like an apple juice or something like that, taking it with apple juice or something like that can definitely make a difference and help absorption speed be a little bit faster, closer to that 2-hour mark. And also, there's talk about not having any added benefit by stacking it with other things that also buffer the pH, like beta-alanine, versus taking one or the other alone. Quick sound check. Got no sound on the live feed, but it seems like it's getting better there. All right, and so no added benefit to stacking with beta-alanine. Just taking it one or the other. So we would need to choose what we want to do. And I'll talk about the reason of taking one or the other here in the next slide. All right. So trying to put this all together, we're looking at weighing the worth of the risk of considering the amount that you have to take, which is 2 grams, and the amount of side effects that we get from taking the bicarbonate soda in the form of bloating and how long it lasts. Okay, and so we need to figure that, and so we also need to plan, depending on our event, how we're going to take it. So in the example of let's say we have an early race. Let's say we have a 5:15 race, like we do here on the ODZ circuit. You're looking at a couple hours before. I mean, 2 a.m. It just doesn't work for that sort of thing. So really need to figure out what type of event you're looking to improve upon, and does it meet the standard that you will be getting to that anaerobic level at the beginning of the race or at the end of the race, and kind of getting yourself buffered through that window of time. So we haven't had an actual talk about beta-alanine, and it is forthcoming, but it is a topic, it is a component that also buffers the pH of our blood to lower the acid level. So the advantage over beta-alanine is that you only have to take this loading up to your race. So for example, if you had like a 10 a.m. start or a 12 afternoon start, you have plenty of time in the 3 hour before to actually load up on bicarbonate soda, where beta-alanine you'd actually need to load for weeks before to get the levels of beta-alanine high enough to buffer the pH. So it's just a one-time dose. So you wouldn't need to take bicarbonate soda for every single day of your workouts. You would just take it on the day that you need it as you practice. So also in the science, benefits seem to be similar to caffeine, as far as the benefits of reduced perceived exertion, reducing the pH, your ability to go anaerobic, and those sort of things. And of course, we all know taking caffeine in the form of, like, let's say coffee, definitely tastes a whole lot better and looks a lot better than let's say taking a bunch of white capsules at the local crit or the local race. So I guess just pulling this all together, what we're looking at is taking bicarbonate soda at a one-time dose. So if you haven't taken it before, it's something very easy to get, very easy to be able to try out. And really, I did talk about side effects, but I didn't talk about exactly what they are. And they're actually not, I would say, I guess, detrimental to your health. I would say, if anything, like anything, you take too much of it, your body will just actually, essentially, you'll end up with things like diarrhea, you'll end up with either loose stool or really bloated stomachs. But these are things that you can try out beforehand. And that's the reason why we encourage with any of these supplements to try while you're on Zwift, to try on your training rides close to home, those sort of things, so that we can get an idea of how we react with it and when it can be used. So again, some of the benefits, you only have to take it that one time for that race. You can practice beforehand, which is great on rides on Zwift and that sort of thing. And it is definitely a little bit better as far as beta-alanine, but in fact, caffeine has shown very similar benefits. So that's definitely something to consider. And then overall, the buffering of lactic acid is a great thing. It's a great idea, especially if your events are short. I would say around 60 minutes, and definitely anaerobic. And we've all had those rides, even group rides, that have gone really, really hard out the gate and even finished really, really hard. So if you're in that situation, it's definitely worth a try. Again, it's easy to get, and something I've used in the past. Haven't used it recently. I know a lot of riders that use it, especially for the days on crits. We do that a lot here in Southern California, so people are loading up on that in the morning. Typically, the way they do it is you'll get a sports bottle, you'll put your 2 grams in, you'll put about 1,500 mLs of water in a jug, you shake that up, and you're kind of sipping on that over the 3 hours before. So everyone has that bottle going at that 3 hour mark. Just about 30 minutes before, you'll get in your warm up, and then you'll come to the line hot and ready, and you're ready to race. So, really quickly, the article today is brought to us by Cycling Tips, last week as well. Really great articles on Cycling Tips. You guys probably catch this on your Facebook feeds, but if not, subscribe to them, like them on Facebook, check them out at cyclingtips.com. A lot of really good information. We have 1 or 2 more articles by them coming up. But again, that's pretty much all I have today. I'm going to open questions to Facebook Live and anything here on Discord. But thanks for coming, everybody. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the chat, and definitely check out In the Feedzone every week. And one quick announcement from TeamODZ is we have a challenge coming up. It starts May 1st. It's the What's on Zwift Coaches Challenge. We got 6 coaches on Zwift that actually use Zwift to train their in real life riders to present one really exclusive workout, and we're going to be doing them 6 days back to back. So you get a chance to try to do that. So check that out, whatsonzwift.com, and check out the Facebook group there. And it starts May 1st. So plan on it. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell them that you won't see them for 6 days. All right. If anybody has any questions, I'll definitely open up. I've got nothing on the Facebook Live, but Discord. Any questions there? All right, so not too much to go. Let me just do a quick recap here, make sure we didn't miss anything on the slide presentation, and then I think we'll give it a go. How much to take? Yeah, so we were talking about 2 grams to take, 2 to 3 hours before, a couple of the side effects, and definitely looking into the benefits and trying this on our rides. So if we've got nothing on Discord, we're good to go. I've got about 15 minutes on the ride left. We'll definitely kind of ride this out. But if we come up with anything, let us know.